Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another episode of Big Hairy News. And look, that way. Look who's here. He's here.
It's me. I'm here.
Yeah. I got to remember this mirror reverses thing. It's that way.
I have survived having a laser put inside me, which is nearly as sexy as it sounds.
Oof. But like you need to do this, something like this, when you're talking about a laser put inside.
Laser. That was my first time under general anesthetic as well. And it's like fucking time travel.
It is. It's so weird.
It's so deeply weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, very good to be with you all tonight. Tonight, now, as many of you will probably already be aware who own Windows-based computers, there was a lovely update last night. So there's a 5% part of me which thinks, when they do a Windows update, our audio always cocks up, but we think we've got it all sorted out. In fact, let's do what we did last night. There was
almost no panic.
What we did last night, Joey, we did this. While I was doing a setup, I played a little bit of music behind me to the punters to make sure they could hear it. And then they said to me, yes, we can hear that. So we can do this is like back in radio, have a bed to talk over. Yeah, so back with Chewy. We're going to have a bit of a chat tonight, and we are also going to open up Discord. Now, it's been a big old week in Big Hairy News, a big hairy week. It's been giving you guys a bunch of information, a bunch of stuff about 2024. You are welcome to ask any question you want on Discord about that tonight. And also, obviously, as per usual, pick up on the conversations we've been having in the news this week. So we haven't seen anyone say they can hear the music, Chewy, so it makes me a little bit nervous. Oh, there we go. Pat channeling late night radio. That'll do. We'll believe it there. There we go. All right. So hopefully we'll be good to go.
Late night for lovers.
We've got what was it? Love songs till midnight. So hopefully that means the audio is working for playing you guys some stuff. There's another one that means will the Discord be working? Fingers crossed, we'll see. Thanks, Windows. I use Windows for this system, but I use Apple for my laptop. I love the Apple system so much better. It's so much more intuitive. Although me and Chewy would have debate for the next 12 hours about phones, won't we, Chewy, if I start saying that?
Hey, look, they're all good devices. They'll sell people whatever they want.
Let's say a huge thanks. I changed my I changed the formula last night of how we showed I don't know where my brain is at the moment. I changed my formula last night as to how we showed myself on the side of the screen, and I went to this one. I think we can still do it like that. That's not bad, is it? Do we like that one better? A little bit bigger? Yeah. We have had some more lovely, kind people today sign up and be patrons. Kiwi Skirt became a patron, and Taha Alwash became a patron. And Chewy, you went with us last night, but we had a ton of people sort of joining in and helping out with this. And like we said on the Wednesday night, we weren't doing this to actually get you guys to sign up. But obviously some people went, we'll sign up now. I might as well do it. So very grateful to all of you. So thank you to our patrons. And if you're not a patron and you want to know more about what that is, then we have a Patreon going at the moment, which I will bring up once I find where I've put everything. There it is. And you can see you get early releases there. We do monthly meetups there. There'll be a monthly meetup next weekend. So not 8 or 9 days from now. As you can see, conversation with the Dunedin Jewish congregation went up early yesterday afternoon. Conversation with Craig Rennie went early the day. So if I do a pre-record during the day, I put it up there. And I don't know, moving into next year, maybe we'll start to use this more and provide more content to patrons. But at the moment, it's a way that you guys can support this if you want to do that. And you get some bonuses along the way, like meetups and the odd early thing being released, etc., etc., etc. I can see you've got something you want to share on your screen there, Chewy. Do you want to do it? 13 days. 13 days.
Cauliflower looks past its best, although it has gained a top hat since I last checked. So
maybe
that's fun.
It's excited to learn more about it. The Discord link is in the video description. I shall grab it again for you and put it into the... Where's my Discord gone? I don't know what I'm looking for. Did I shut it down? No, I can't shut it down. That's a chat. Oh, Chewy, what have I done? Did I shut Discord down?
Broken it.
I've broken it.
Broken it.
Let me just reopen it up. I'll put the link in again. Now, hopefully it'll be the same link. If it's not the same link, then you can blame Discord. Here we go. Invite people. Oh, it's not the same link. I just saw it change. Discord does a thing where I say, keep that same link for the next 12 hours, and it never does. Discord.
No.
There we go. There's the fresh Discord chat coming into the chat things now. So if you guys want to jump on, remember, if you do want to come and have a chat, then you jump into the waiting room. And when we get a chance to come and talk to you, which is typically in the second half of the show, then we just will, assuming that's all working. Okay, Chewy, how many days till coalition forms? It says it's been 13. So we go and have a look at the news and see what the actual thing says. This is from News Hub tonight. Let's have a look at the coalition, where they're at today. More meetings costing New Zealand tax. It's funny, It's funny how this is costing New Zealand taxpayers thousands and thousands of dollars a day of hiring hotels and stuff, but that's okay. That doesn't matter. But like spending too much on on someone's Christmas party or a leaving dinner, working for MFAT, that's a big problem. But thousands and thousands of dollars a day doing this, that's all right. No problems whatsoever. Let's have a look at the story from tonight. This is News Hub talking about the coalition talks.
Coalition negotiations have now taken longer than in 2017, though Christopher Luxon's adamant he's making good progress and is, quote, pretty close to forming a government.
I do find Christopher Luxon being a little bit too enthusiastic. Yesterday when we showed them walking across and the other two guys were a bit like, no, there's some things to go. And Luxon's like, yeah, this is going really good and it's going to be soon. And it's that kind of CEO vibe of keeping the morale up for people who are...
Oh, absolutely.
It's sort of what it is, everything's great. There's no in business. It does have a bit of a vibe. But today he did open up a little bit and talk a bit more about what's going on behind the Iron Curtain, so to speak. And they gave a few tidbits out.
The National Party leader had more meetings with ACT and New Zealand First in Auckland today and confirmed ministerial roles are being allocated. Here's political reporter Lloyd Burr.
After 2 weeks under the cone of silence, Luxon finally allowing a peek underneath.
Oh, very good. We had a very productive day yesterday.
Optimistic to repeat that today.
We're pretty close. And, for us, it's about, just working through the last couple of issues.
Confirming they've now moved to discussing ministerial appointments.
I wonder if the last couple of issues, though, like let's say you had 20 things to sort out and you did 18 of those things over 3 or 4 days. That would mean you're pretty close. But what if those last two things take another 2 weeks? Like, what if we're now talking the last couple of things? One of them's the foreign buyers tax. I wonder if that's going to be like we might be pretty close in the number of things we've sorted out. Imagine running a marathon and you've got 10 drink stops, but the first 9 drink stops are all in the first 3 or 4 Ks, and then the last drink stop is like 25 Ks later. You might be quite close to finishing your drink stops, but you still might be quite a long way from the finish line, Chewy. You know what I'm saying?
Could be the linchpin of your tax policy.
Yeah, it could be
that.
It
could be whether we're going to kick off a race war in this country.
Oof.
Just we're so close to the edge.
Little things like that.
We're already discussing some of that already with both parties. Yep.
And where the negotiations have been prickly.
Yeah, there's been moments of directness, as there should be, and there needs to be, because we have to build trust with each other.
His deputy expanding on that.
At the end of the day, everyone's got to get their ego, put it to one side.
Referring to Winston Peters perhaps, and him ghosting them on Tuesday after reportedly being offended by National's offering.
My observation of Winston Peters is he is someone who has been in politics a very long time. I think it would take more than a document to offend him.
I wouldn't overread.
Was that a little snipe or not? Sometimes you wonder, it's like he's been, it sounds like she was saying on one hand, he's been around long enough that he understands the game. But on the other hand, it might be, do you know how long this guy's been in this place?
He's been here a long time.
Really
Yeah,
on time.
I think that was a masterful try and have it both ways comment.
All right, we'll keep going.
Read all too much into the drama. I appreciate it's a bit of drama, but I just
a bit of drama. It's a big power play from Winston, wasn't it?
rubbish, absolute rubbish.
What, did he not do it to teach you a lesson?
No, absolute rubbish.
The rest of Luxon's negotiating cabal joining him too.
Cabal.
Paul Goldsmith, Simeon Brown, and scootering in, Chris Bishop, meeting first with Peters.
Okay. Pity he was going so slow there. We can see how covered in
Well, it's
coffee
pretty
he
substantial,
was.
actually.
It is interesting also that they met separately. So yesterday, all three of them were in the room together for a whole 30 minutes, Chewie, a whole 30 minutes. And today, Luxon met with Winston for 3 hours. And then I just saw a headline actually from stuff that after he was done with Winston, he had Seymour turn up. And from the Herald 6 minutes ago, David Seymour says possibly this week to the coalition. So that doesn't show in this story because this was before 6 o'clock.
Were you offended by the document that the National Party gave you last week?
Next question.
Next question means yes, in case you're wondering with Mr. Peters, because if it's not, he'd go, don't be ridiculous. Who do you think you are? What kind of journalism is this? But next question basically means, yep, but I'm not going to talk to that right now.
That question, why didn't you make it to Wellington for meetings on Tuesday?
I had a meeting that was occasioned by a request from an overseas foreign minister who was coming out of Perth in Rarotonga and heading off to APEC. And he wanted to see me in Auckland, so I had to cancel 5 flights to fit in with him.
These Auckland talks are not cheap. The daily rate of these conference rooms is around $1,000.
Is the taxpayer picking up the bill for these hotel conference
I'm not
rooms?
sure who's paying the bills? I can give you an answer for that, but I mean, but the reality is we're doing it in a very cost-effective way.
Is it wasteful spending when you've got a free parliament in Wellington?
No.
Yeah.
Money,
Now,
not a worry.
I mean, this is the thing, yeah. I don't really care about that. I actually genuinely don't. They've got to meet somewhere. But what I will always do is point back to the people, being National and ACT, who have been talking about wasteful spending of Labor for 18 months, 2 years now. So it's a valid question. It's a valid nitpick to throw at them. I mean, why didn't they just meet at one of their houses? You know, like that's what they were doing 2 weeks ago before the final counts came through. And so you don't have really solid ground to stay on if you've been criticizing a government of being wasteful spending. And right now the spending you are doing is not necessary. You could be in Wellington at the Beehive or Parliament buildings. You could be at someone's house. So like I said, I don't really care about the meeting at the hotel. What I care about is hypocrisy and holding people accountable to their own standard. And their own standard is if Labor wastes 15 cents, they shouldn't be doing it. Well, they're doing it right now. There's negotiations, Chewie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Luxon has his office up there. Seymour has an office up there.
Yeah.
New Zealand First have an office up there. You know, there's lots of other options. But yeah, I agree. It's the same sort of thing. Part of me wants to go, you know, yeah, it's hypocrisy. You talk about wasteful spending. But on the other hand, it's like, yeah, look, this is just what it takes to form a government. It's small change. But they could save themselves this effort by thinking of the optics of it. If two meatheads like us can criticize them on it, then they've lost.
I think that's it, right? It's you have to be held to the same standard that you're holding Labor, the Greens, Te Pāti Māori to. And if Labor, the Greens, Te Pāti Māori were meeting somewhere pre-election because they wanted to rather than they had to, and it was costing. Now, they said the room was $1,000. The reason I said thousands of dollars a day, that's just for the room. Right? That's not for all the other things they're using there, for the lunches they're eating, for the meal, you know, and there's obviously a horde of them up there. So I'm like you, I don't personally think it's a big deal. Money, it's not a lot of money. And like you say, you got to get together and do it. But again, when they've been criticizing the left of being wasteful for so long, then spending when you don't need to is wasteful. That's what I care about. I care about the hypocrisy. Anything in the chat or anything, Star, do you want to get to before we move on to MFAT? MFAT's is in a bit of trouble today, but
no, let's move on for now.
So there's a really weird story coming out, and I know a lot of us are going to want to go, oh, thanks, ACT. But MFAT has made a decision to stop using Te Reo Maori on some of their literature. Now, you can't blame National Act New Zealand First for this because they're not the government yet. And if you've got CEOs and decision makers in those in that department going, well, this is going to be what's happening, so let's just start now. Again, you can't really blame them for that. Or so what's going on? Is it a sign of things to come? Because no one's been given this directive yet, although many people have hinted at it during the election cycle, Chewy. So I'm a bit perplexed. We'll play the story and then we'll have a chat about it, but I'm a bit perplexed by this. It seems like part of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and Trade is moving towards what they think the National Act New Zealand First government will want before they're in there. I'm perplexed by the whole thing. Let's have a look at the story off One News tonight.
The decision by a major government agency to remove Te Reo Maori from some briefing papers has come under fire. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade says it's made the move while the country waits for a new government. Here's Māori Affairs correspondent Te Wahuri Hanganui.
But sorry to interrupt already, but that's not a reason. We're doing it while we wait for a new government. But why are you doing it? Why are you doing anything different whilst you're waiting for a new government? That's not a reason. You know what I'm saying, Chewy? That's not like saying, well, we've had a directive that's not been enforced yet, so we need to put things on hold. Like, this would cost money, because if they're taking things off things like letterheads and that, then that's a change. That's a design change. So why are they doing it whilst they're waiting? I even though after the story, I'm still going to say I don't get it.
Championing our culture on the world stage. But back home, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade has decided to remove Te Reo Maori from some of its briefing papers before the new government's been formed.
I find it ridiculous. Yeah, and actually it's got to be stopped, and we've got to challenge this behaviour that we're starting to see already prior to the ministers being sworn in.
I think we've gone too far forward to go backwards.
It's unclear what the incoming government's position on Te Reo youth will be as coalition talks drag on.
You know, what's important is to get the briefing and understand the issue. I'm less worried about the form, frankly.
He's previously said dual names for departments are fine so long as English comes first. New Zealand First, on the other hand...
We will change all the woke virtue-signaling names of every government department back to English.
In a statement, the ministry insists Te Reo use for the most part remains unchanged, but admits it has made an adjustment to one briefing template while the government's still being formed, and that it'll talk to the next minister in charge to see what they'd prefer. That explanation...
But that still doesn't make sense, because Labor leaves, caretaker government, and they make a change. Why wouldn't they just leave it the same, and then if they have to or are forced to, make a change? That's why I'm saying I don't get it. There's the Occam's razor, the idea of Occam's razor, which many of us would say, colloquially, you'd say, the most obvious solution is more often than not the true solution. I think officially it's the fewest number of assumptions to reach a conclusion is what Occam's razor is. They use it like in murder cases where it says the person who's most likely to have committed the murder is usually the person who's committed the murder. Now, what's Occam's razor for this? What's the most likely scenario as to why this department has made this decision off their own bat whilst they're waiting? And I actually don't have any idea. I can't come up with any logical conclusion, Joey.
The only thing that comes to mind for me is, remember earlier in the year we were talking about people in government positions being politically neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is someone tipping their hat that perhaps they're not politically neutral and they think that under their watch there's too much Maori around? I don't like it.
Yeah, but what if the next government comes in and says, "Oh no, that's fine, leave it the way it was"? Then they've changed it and they'll change it back. Like, they've changed it. And remember, when I say they've changed it, as the story said, just some parts of it, they've changed it whilst they're waiting to see what the next government does. Okay, so fine. What the next government does might be a change, but why have you changed it? You just wait and then you change it once. That's why I'm not getting it. Someone in the chat, and it's already scrolled by, said CEOs trying to protect their jobs. Maybe, but yeah, I'm perplexed by the whole thing. Well, let's play some more of the story and see because I think the Māori Party have got something to say about this as well.
Not good enough for Te Pāti Māori, who'd like the chief executive
warm tēnā koutou
to go.
Our culture is used to sell these particular offices and these particular agencies overseas, is that if you can't give the respect to Te Reo Maori, to tangata whenua in this particular space, then you should step down.
Just demonstrates to us that they're anticipating pushback from this new government in terms of Te Reo Maori use.
We think that it's a progression of the racist rhetoric that we've seen.
In the meantime, the ministry's facing pressure from its own staff to rethink the decision. Tianua Huri, One News.
So one of the experts was saying, one of the guests was saying, it's anticipation of the new rules. Now that may be the case, but still I still don't understand what that means. They'd need to change now. So you wait and you find out. So look, maybe I'm trying to overanalyze something that doesn't need to be overanalyzed, but it makes no sense. I can't find a logical reason for it. And I want to know why, and nowhere in that report did it actually explain to me in any great detail why it's been done. It just seems bizarre.
Yeah, I think I agree with this comment from Twitch. Although MFAT have been slightly slower adopters of Te Reo when compared to other agencies, they've still done it. This smacks a little bit of Chris Seed trying to ingratiate himself to the new government.
Right.
That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Okay.
It's like, like we could both be completely wrong. But I think the thing that we agree on is this has created a problem that didn't need to be created. It just seems silly, and it's brought it all crashing down onto his head. The stories that I've read say staff at MFAT are not happy about it.
Yeah.
So and now it's in the news cycle.
So it sounds like what you're saying is it's the idea of it's an answer looking for the question. It's an answer to a problem it doesn't have a question that's been asked. So no one's suggested why it should be done, but someone's found an answer to a non-question and they're doing it.
Yeah, and like as JK says here, if the government has indicated that it was planning to increase the speed limit, it doesn't mean that you should go at that speed before it changes.
Very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Very good suggestion there. Now listen, just to remind you all, I think I've put it up in the chat already. We will be opening up. I'll bring it across to show you, because to be honest with you, we've only got one more story. We might be through this quite quickly. So often on a Thursday night, we open up the old Discord Rama Ding Dong, and if you want to come in and have a chat, you jump into Discord. Look, there's a bunch of people there. A bunch of people who aren't there yet, offline people, and you come down here into the waiting room. So there's the waiting room. Oh, there you go. Lost Soul just showed us where to go. You go into the waiting room and you wait there for us. And as I said, we'll probably finish this next story in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So if you want, we can have a full sort of half hour of chat. If you've got any questions or comments you want to make, and if not, we'll take whoever's in the waiting room. And we because Chewy's still recovering from being laser Kiwi, might end up having a bit of an early one. Make sense? Makes sense. The link is in the chat already, so you can get yourself over there and get yourself ready if you want to have a chin wag with us about everything and anything. So here's an example of a story coming out of the Middle East, the Israel-Gaza conflict, where there's been news come out today from both Hamas and the IDF, and I would suggest you can't take either of them as gospel, because they're both saying the opposite thing. But I want to speak to this, because how do I word this without having people get offline now and not hear the full explanation? When I say it doesn't matter if Hamas even was using the hospital as a base. I'll explain more about that shortly as to why I think that. But here's the story, first of all, about the WHO, the World Health Authority, has slammed the IDF and called it totally unacceptable that they have, shall we say, entered the hospital in Gaza.
The World Health Organization has called the Israeli Defense Forces operation inside Al-Shifa Hospital totally unacceptable. The raid has even prompted a show of solidarity from the UN Security Council, issuing an urgent call for humanitarian pauses in the fighting after failing to pass similar resolutions previously. The IDF is adamant the hospital is being used by Hamas as a command center, and it says it's got video to prove it. Alice Wilkins reports.
There is an AK-47. There are cartridges, ammo. There are grenades in here. Of course, uniform.
Here's the bit you'll love most of all, Chewy. Now, I don't question that Israel took medical supplies into the hospital, right? I'm 100% sure they did. But medical supplies is written in English on the sides of the boxes as they're carrying them into the hospital. Now, I'm not suggesting that they weren't medical supplies, but that is propaganda. Now, when we hear the word propaganda, we always think, oh, that means lies. No, propaganda is like marketing for the use of furthering a narrative for a government. So them carrying, and you'll see it coming up, them carrying medical supplies into the hospital with medical supplies in English written on it is purely propaganda. It's theatre for the rest of the world to see. Now, when I say you got to take each side with a grain of salt, we have no evidence, and I'm not taking a side on this, but we have no evidence that these guys didn't bring these weapons in and plant them there. Right? There's no evidence for that. There's a 7-minute video being released by the IDF showing a bunch of weapons in the hospital. They may have been in there. I'm not challenging whether they are or aren't, but what I am saying is in a court of law, this would not be enough evidence to say they were there and they belong to Hamas. It just wouldn't be enough. It would be basically hearsay. One way or the other. In saying that, to be fair on the other side, Hamas has released some video footage of smoky, dusty corridors, blaming the IDF for that. We have no evidence that those images were shot today or are from this current thing or are even in that hospital. We're just being told by Hamas that's what they were. This is what propaganda is. It's the ability to look at things and go, that may be true, but it also could be a complete lie. Both sides you got to do. I think this is the story, Chewy. There is an Australian doctor who speaks to the conditions of the hospital. I take his word with a lot more validity than either of the sides trying to score points. Should we just keep rolling?
Yeah, keep rolling, man.
All right.
And all of this was hidden very conveniently, secretly behind the MRI machine.
It was hidden very conveniently behind the MRI, and it was found very conveniently right there. See what I'm saying? It goes both ways every time.
This is what Israel's Defense Force says is...
And actually, just that I think about it, what happens when you have metal in a room that's full of... Isn't an MRI magnetic? Don't you have to take all... But they've had power up until a week and a half ago. Aren't you supposed to have all metal out of those rooms? Look, I'm not saying one way or the other, but coincidentally, or it's in there, but should it really be in a magnetic resonating imaging? Whatever that word is.
Proof of Hamas activity inside Al-Shifa Hospital, releasing a 7-minute-long video showing weapons and equipment that it says were hidden inside.
These weapons have absolutely no business being inside a hospital. The only reason they're here is because Hamas put them here.
IDF troops stormed the hospital building in an overnight operation, reportedly interrogating the staff working there and blocking any evacuation. Contact with those providing medical assistance inside has since been limited, but this footage from the Hamas-run health ministry shows doctors moving patients through hallways filled with clouds of dust.
Now again, we don't have any evidence that was shot today. It's from that hospital. Again, I'm not saying that it's not, but when you don't have all the answers, you have to be aware that any answer could be true and or false. So from looking at that.
Clear when it was taken.
The rooms on the edge of the buildings are totally risky. The continuous firing and shooting makes everything impossible. Whoever tries to move, the snipers are all over the area.
Al-Shifa is the largest hospital in Gaza City, where these newborn babies are being cared for with limited electricity, water or medicine. Hamas has called any claim that the hospital is also a command centre lies, and the IDF video a farce.
In recent weeks, the IDF has publicly warned time and again that Hamas's continued military use of Shifa Hospital jeopardizes its protected status under the international law.
Israel's military has also released these images. Israeli soldiers at Al-Shifa carrying boxes clearly labelled with
look, they're medical supplies, Chewy. They're medical supplies, and that's obviously how they got delivered from the manufacturer, because if anyone was confused when they got delivered into wherever they landed on which port, they had to know that they, in English, had medical supplies written on the side of them.
Medical supplies in English. But regardless, raiding a hospital has drawn condemnation.
Israel's military incursion into Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City is totally unacceptable. Hospitals are not battlegrounds.
We've been working around the clock in the hospital, and our medical staff have seen absolutely no evidence of Hamas using the hospital as a military headquarters.
But the IDF says...
Now, I don't know about you, Chewy. Again, everything with a grain of salt, but a foreign national, an Australian, an independent voice, I would give that a little bit more weight than the two sides who are trying to win the propaganda battle as well. Doesn't mean he's right. Doesn't mean we can take him without, I mean, he could be lying, but I would certainly tend, first-hand account, eyewitness, been there, I would tend to have give that a bit more weight than others. We'll just finish this last, it's basically finished, and then you can jump in.
It has, and this video proves it. Alice Wilkins.
It does not prove it. It lays a claim. So there you go, Chewy. I talked all the way through that, but what are your thoughts?
So I've always found it really interesting, right from the get-go, that they've talked about tunnels, and we know that there's tunnels under the Gaza Strip. They've been there for years. They've been expanded in recent years by Hamas, but the IDF seems so certain that there was a command center under this particular hospital.
Yeah.
And it kind of got me thinking, why would they think that so strongly? Like, that has been their objective all the way through, that there was a command center. So I found this. The reason that they think there's a command center there, or the reason that they know that there is one there, is that they built it.
Oh.
They built it when they extended that hospital in the early to mid 80s. They built a reinforced concrete bunker underneath that was going to be storage and a protected operating theatre. So that they've always known that there's something there because they built it. Obviously, this is one man on Twitter's opinion. So you've got to check, right? And again, this story goes through what IDF have said, some of the images that they've put forward, and then just basically said, yes, the IDF built that bunker. So, I mean, that's why they're so sure about it. We don't know whether Hamas were using it as a command center or something like that, but surely in this case, where you clearly had the hospital being used as a hospital, that there's foreign nationals there, Doctors Without Borders and UN workers and that sort of thing there, I don't see why they saw the need to raid it. And their, as you said, their propaganda of like, here's some weapons that we found. They could have been left there by wounded fighters as well. You know, again, it isn't an open and shut case. I saw an IDF, it might have even been that same guy actually, going through, and he showed a chart on the wall and said, look here, this is a roster of guards. And then in the comments, someone said, it's not, it's days of the week written in Arabic. It's a nurse's roster. It's not a roster for guards. All of the stuff that they're showing up as really clear-cut case is not. You would tear it apart in any sort of legal framework. And as you've said, this is not saying that I believe what Hamas is putting out as well, but it just plays into their hands to send troops into a hospital. That's just a gimme.
Yeah. The reason I think that it doesn't matter if Hamas are in there is there's no like addendum to the war crime, right? And what the IDF representative was saying is at risk of, you know, its hospital status. There's nothing in war crimes that says, oh, you can't bomb it unless these criteria, and then go for it. The point is you can't bomb it. So it doesn't matter, be it right or wrong, you know, and look, no supporter of Hamas, obviously, but it doesn't matter if they're there, That doesn't mean Israel has carte blanche to bomb it when we know that there's civilians in there, and we know that there's civilians in there who need a hospital. So I remember listening to someone in quite the early stages of this conflict. There was an American, former military guy, I might have been on CNN, saying Hamas has to go, but the way to do this is follow a model of, for example, how America got rid of bin Laden. And they didn't flatten that whole town. They sent a SEAL team in, and no one else other than the people within that immediate conflict perished. I mean, I don't like calling for any kind of war or anything, but the difference between, putting your own soldiers in harm's way to protect civilians and just bombing everything is the difference between a military action and a war crime. Because bombing everything kills civilians. An incursion with just your own soldiers, just going after their soldiers, is war. And so I don't. It's not that I don't care if Hamas was there or not. I'm saying it's irrelevant to the serious nature of the crimes against humanity. It's irrelevant whether Hamas were there or not, because they're still killing civilians with missiles, and they're. I mean, I'm sure they could have breached the hospital and, moved away from the doctors and nurses and searched the hospital to find people and find the bunker. I don't think you're going to get many nurses or doctors picking up AK-47s and fighting back. But that's what it comes down to me. It's not like, it's a war crime to shoot an ambulance unless you think it's wearing spinners on it, because spinners are so 1990. We've got to get rid of all those straight away. There's no addendum. You just can't. You're not allowed to. It's against the law. It's against world law, literally. Joey?
I mean, I've mentioned this before, that Israel's military has the capability of being incredibly surgical. They have all of the top stuff, the ability to sling missiles and bombs through someone's chimney. They've got drones, they've got surveillance. You can't tell me that they're not leveraging. Like, it's a choice, right? They've decided that they needed an instant, overwhelming overmatch, an overkill of firepower now that is just anger. It is not what they've proven before, which is that they can be incredibly surgical. They can bide their time. They can wait for the right moment. They'll take out exactly who they need to. Those are two things that cannot exist in the same way. And I think, when you look at the horrible term, the bycatch here, the amount of civilians that have copped it instead of the actual fighters and the people responsible for the Hamas attack on the 7th, they're fucked up. They're fucked up. And I know the news cycle is going to move on, and I know that some people have made up their mind and they've picked a side and that sort of thing, but this is so egregious and so over the top that it deserves to not be forgotten. We cannot let Israel off the hook for just going berserker on the whole thing.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be a tough one to figure out in the long run, but I heard Bernie Sanders talking today, darling of the progressives, talking about the idea about a ceasefire, that Israel can't necessarily do a ceasefire because Hamas won't stop, but there should be a humanitarian gap, which I guess is the middle ground, which it sounds like what they're talking about today. Israel has offered Hamas, I think, has offered like some hostages back for some hostages in Israel and a humanitarian stop. And now it's up to Israel whether they'll receive that or take that into agree to it or not. Well, I guess we'll see. And what we've heard from Netanyahu so far is absolutely no way, no how are we going to offer any kind of ceasefire. So, I think it was 50 or so hostages plus some hostages back in a humanitarian break. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's say a big thanks and hello to Mr. Alex. Whilst we're doing this, if you would like to jump onto Discord, Alex, I'm just going to take your super chat away, but I'll put it back. If you would like to dump into Discord and come and have a chat with us, because the stories are done for the day. Now it's really up to you guys. If you want to keep the show going on for a bit longer, we're happy to have a chat with you. Assuming Discord works. Shall I just grab Lost Soul for like 10 seconds to make sure it's working? Or else we shouldn't do a big punch up. Let's do this. Lost Soul, I'm going to grab you for 10 seconds to make sure it's working. Then I'm going to put you back in the room. Can you hear us, Lost Soul?
I can hear you guys.
Chewy, talk to Lost Soul.
Hello, Lost Soul.
Can you hear
me
Chewy?
also?
I can hear you as well, Chewy. How's it going?
It's going good, but you're going back in the waiting room. Sorry, mate. You were just helping us test it. So there we
Back
go.
in the box.
Back in the box. We know that it's working. So jump into Discord, head over to the waiting room. Happy to take your thought. And Lost Soul, you'll be up in just a couple of minutes. Trust me, you'll be up next. Thank you for helping us test it. So again, thanks to Alex for the $10 super chat. I was talking with people in Wellington on how insanely priced new single or double floor homes, at least 1 million to 1.5 million. And what was shocking was people justifying the price of new homes. What's that saying? That housing's expensive? New housing's expensive? I saw that Southland prices have gone up by 30% and Northland have gone up by 20%, but the average house price in New Zealand is still $775. That was as of today. Single or double floor home.
Just anecdotally, there's a lot of houses for sale around me, and
Really?
it seems to be all of a sudden. House up the road for me was on the market for a week before selling.
Wow, that's quick. I wonder if people are going, you've got these troughs and you've got these spikes, and we're in a bit of an up curve. And I wonder if people are going, if we buy now, then it'll do this a bit for us. So I wonder if it's going to be a fast and furious 12 months to swap houses before we start to head up towards, more expensive prices again. We've also got Anakihi, thanks for your $2 super chat, saying IDF, I display falsehoods. Very good. And Dave Monster, $2 super chat, thanks for your super chat. Those babies were clearly Hamas leadership. Are we censoring the word Hamas now? Is it getting us kicked off things or something? Is that what we're doing?
I know some social medias are shadow banning it and stuff like that.
Okay. So thank you for self-censorship there, Dave. Dave, yeah, and obviously that's. I don't want to sound too kind of dramatic saying that's Hamas playing their propaganda, because they're real babies and there's real issues there, but that's heartbreaking. And that's the civilians we're talking about. Newborn babies dying because they don't have electricity. The reason, if you weren't aware, the reason they're all put into one area is the way they're keeping warm is with their own body heat. So all of those babies are together because they're trying to keep them warm with one another. So it's just heartbreaking. All right, Chewy, we'll go have a chat with Lost and see if there's anyone else who wants to chat. Anything else you want to do before we get there?
No, roll it.
Roll it, baby. All right. Sorry for treating you like a crash test only there, Lost, but you're with us now to say g'day and hello. How are you, man?
Hey guys, how's it going? Great.
Yeah, it's going good.
Loving my new shirt.
Oh, good. Which one did you get?
I got the bottom feeders.
Oh, nice. T-shirt or hoodie?
T-shirt. I've been wearing it around, getting some weird looks.
We've got a new drop coming next week, so you guys should keep an eye out for that.
Can't wait to see what that is.
Cool, man. So what's up today?
Well, I got a few things I want to talk about real quick, but first of all, the whole horrible business overseas, in my personal opinion, none of it will be sorted because of the extreme ideologies on both sides ramming together. What Chewy touched on briefly the other night was that we need outside people from both sides that are not, Israeli government leadership or Hamas leadership, and to come together and sort it out, because no one's going to figure it out otherwise, because no one's going to want to come to compromise, and that's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, because even the two-state solution is, where do you draw the boundaries? It's like if we do that, what are either side going to agree to?
But they've tried it in the past, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
And because all the way back in 1936, 1942, they've done this, and all the Palestinians have always said, no, we want our land back, get the fuck out. You're invaders, fuck off. And they, of course, the Jews and the Israelis go, no, we have a right to be here. This is our land now. And yeah, that's going to be it forever. So you need to figure out a middle ground.
I heard a commentator taking the piss out of Luxon the other day, mocking in a mocking way, talking about how great he's done to get the to get ACT in New Zealand first, to give up 30 years of grievances, and he's just done it like that, and it's all going to be so easy. And so maybe he should go to the Middle East and sort out that problem. I think it might have been Matthew
Bring his
Hushin, actually.
CEO-ness. He's got his great CEO business where he like showed his hand too early and let Winston totally take all power away from him.
That's interesting. Actually. I've never thought about this. Do you imagine if, as a CEO, you release something that affected your share price before a merger? That would be horrific. And that's basically what he's done. He's shown his hand early, as you're saying.
Yeah, that's why he wasn't able to go over to APEC and go do that. That's a whole nother thing. Yeah. And his language around policies is terrifying to me. He's like not talking about like how he's going to pay for his tax policy anymore. Like it's no longer fully funded, strong and robust. It's we'll find a way. And historically, whenever Nationals found a way, it's selling state assets. But you know they can't really say homes at the moment because that would be terrible optics.
That was always the plan, Lost Soul. It was always the plan.
Sell the railway again.
Again, yeah. Gosh, imagine that. Then Labor will have to buy it back again when they. It's like a divorced couple where one couple just sells off the other one's leather jacket and has to go buy it back from the second hand shop which it got sold to just so we can get it again. Amazing. What else, Sol? What's going on?
Well, what else is going on? My patch fest. That's another thing that I've been interested in. How are they going to enforce patches? I walk around as a metalhead and I got a ton of patches. Am I going to get harassed by the police?
Maybe.
Because how are they going to enforce that? Are they going to go specifically after gang logos, which means the gangs will just change?
Well, I still just wonder if you're going to get a gang, the Killer Bees, or I don't think the Mob or Black Power will do it, but one of the smaller gangs or something, decide to turn their patch into a fashion label. And then that becomes...
like the Hells Angels.
What will they do then? Like, imagine the Sons of Anarchy off whatever series that was, having their patch out there. What are they going to do if people see them rolling around in those?
You can just go buy a Hells Angels t-shirt online.
Buy a Mongrel Mob one on
gang patch.
Yeah,
but they get a little bit more iffy if you walk around wearing theirs. Yeah. Hells Angel, if you're just walking around wearing a Hells Angels t-shirt, they'll go, oh, that's just a bit of our merch that we sold online making money. Whereas, there's no mob here in New Zealand that's specifically selling t-shirts to just people like me to be like, hey, look, I got a Mongrel Mob t-shirt. Cool.
All right, Lost. Hey, good to hear from you. Is there anything else you want to jump in there before we move on?
No, buy some merch.
Yeah, buy some merch. We'll get some new merch to you guys next week. I'm thinking about... for those who are in power, equality feels like oppression. I think that's going to be the drop for next week. We'll see how that goes. Now you're going to have to help me here because I'm terrible at name pronunciations. I know we've talked before. Now do we go with Rajan?
Rajan.
That's
usually how I pronounce it. Hey guys,
how are you, man?
Yeah, pretty good. Chewy, I think this is the first time we've chatted. Nice to see you. I enjoy your stuff.
What's going on, Rajan?
Quite a bit, to be honest. Just in the past month or so, but probably the main issue I want to talk about is the whole Israel-Palestine conflict, which in regards to the US election coming up next year, because I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's been some polling that's coming out for Trump and Biden is doing pretty bad at the moment.
He is. I would also say, though, all of the polls so far this year, because there have been elections going on, local body elections, have all been massively wrong. They've all said that the Republicans are going to overperform. I'm not saying that makes it the same for the presidential election, but all the polling so far has all been, Republicans are going to win, and they haven't been. So I hear you, and I think it's a massive concern. I think if people have been watching here for long enough, you'll know that I think anyone but Biden almost. But that's just to also be taken with a grain of salt.
True, very true. Although they're with a lot of the recent elections where I know the Democrats did really well and the elections happened, what was it, last week?
Yeah.
That seemed to be because of abortion, which, I mean, a lot can change in the next year or so. I'm not saying like, oh, Biden's out of it at the moment, though. I was watching a stream yesterday where Vosh was talking to the Amazing Atheist and Paul's Ego about this whole issue about like vote blue no matter who, or should you hold out? And I guess the main thing this is something I've struggled with, is I do think Trump serves a real threat at the moment. With, I don't know if you guys have heard of the whole Project 2025 thing.
Yep.
But then, and so that's put me on the track of like, yeah, Biden sucks, but gotta vote for him to stop the fascist. But then Biden's response to this whole bombing of Gaza has just been so bad, and it seems like there's quite a few Muslim voters in states like Michigan that have said, yeah, I'm not voting for Biden until he calls for a ceasefire. And I don't know, I guess this is kind of maybe go, what is the better outcome? Like, should you vote? Obviously, like, it doesn't really matter for us, but if either of you were voters in the US, particularly if you're in a swing state like Michigan, would you commit to voting for Biden at the moment to stop Trump, or would you try and hold out to get him to call for a ceasefire?
Well, I think your question is a little bit sort of not nonsensical in a bad way, but because you're talking about not having to vote for him for another 12 months. So by then this will be resolved. True. So he may call for a ceasefire by then, or he may not need to. But to hear what you're saying, I struggle with this, because I think sometimes, you have to burn down the establishment and something else rise from the ashes. But the threat for doing that is Donald Trump. And we saw that footage. We saw that footage this week. That footage this week with one of his former lawyers saying they had a plan that he was not going to leave. And so he is actually a, fascistic threat for America. He's been citing Mussolini and Hitler in his latest speeches. And I don't want to be the kind of moderate, which I don't consider myself, but maybe this is not the election to burn to the ground. Maybe the next one, because Trump is
if there is a next one.
But Trump is a real genuine threat. I don't think to us, I don't think to the rest of the world necessarily, but to America in the way of life.
Yeah. Well, I do also worry that, like, Trump going down a fascistic, like, if we really did see America go down a fascistic route, I do worry that could have a flow-on effect to right-wing parties, in particularly like other European countries, and maybe that could flow on here. Maybe, who knows? But I get what you mean.
I mean, there's that old saying. Actually, I don't know if it's an old saying or if it's my saying. I always say this is old saying, but I don't know where it actually came from. That when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. So it does flow on to America.
That's a good way of putting it.
But I just think the rest of the world sees Trump as such a joke. I think we're somewhat immune from him, because we can go elsewhere like we did with other things. I mean, other countries went elsewhere. They built free trade agreements with other places. When he brought in, what do you call it at the border when you got to pay to get your things in? I've forgotten that word. It's jumped out of my head. Tariffs. And so places went elsewhere and got their support and their products from other countries and other places. So I don't know. I'm concerned for America more than for the rest of the world if Trump gets in. I am not.
Yeah. And this whole thing, this isn't really me being concerned about you or me or anyone else in New Zealand directly. It's more me being concerned about both people in America and people in Gaza particularly, as well as Israel,
Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna say one last thing, one last point I'll make. It is really fucking tricky trying to be a voter that cares about the collective of everyone, not just yourself.
Yep, absolutely.
Man, I wish I didn't give a fuck about everyone else as much as the right did, because that would make voting easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's one of those things that the right chewy seems to vote for themselves, and the left hopefully seems to vote for their neighbor, or the people who need it most of all, the vulnerable.
I think with the American elections, like, it just, I know they always have like a third candidate or whatever, but they never get anywhere because they're so entrenched in just the overwhelming dominance of the two-party system.
Yeah. If they have a third time, if it's RFK Jr. this time around, he'll be the third one. That'll impact Trump more than Biden.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, right? Whoever that third party is, they're going to cannibalize somebody's vote, and the risk of you know, say a left-leaning voter that's just like, Biden's not cutting it. He's pissed me off somehow. I'm going to vote for anyone but Biden, anyone but Trump. And, you know, it gets Trump in. Like, but I think the Democrats are obviously going to run Biden. I think the Republicans have got to have a fucking look at themselves if they're going to run Trump. But of course they are. They'll look at the polls and they'll go, "Oh yeah, sure."
Yeah, I think Trump will either be in jail or he'll be the nominee. And there is some crazy talk out there that he could be in jail and the nominee. I mean, I heard a serious commentator the other day saying that he will see the inside of a prison cell. Now I struggle to believe that, former president, you know. In fact, what I suspect probably would happen. Okay, so here's a prediction that Joe Biden will do a deal where he is, these words are all jumping out of my head, forgiven for his crimes. What's that word called? Given a clemency for his crimes if he doesn't run. In other words, go away, go and stay and retire into, you know, Mar-a-Lago, and we'll pardon your crimes. And you just leave America alone and then see what happens. That, even though that sounds repugnant to me, it also wouldn't surprise me, because some of these crimes he's accused of, they're serious jail time. And so I don't know how you can say how you can have this idea that you don't have a two-tier justice system where the wealthy get one lot and the poor get treated a different way by someone who gets convicted of an incredibly serious, almost treasonous crime and then walks. I just don't see. I don't know how that they're going to square that circle unless it's a full pardon and a now go away and never stand in front of a camera again. You know,
I mean, just personally, I want, like, yes, it's America's problem, but the bleed through of pro-Trump stuff to the rest of the world, it just seems to have made everything meaner. And like, look at all of the crazes that we've talked about over the last year or two.
Yeah.
And they all think Trump's amazing. Every single one of them. They've all got brain rot. So I just want him to go away. That's it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a horrible thing to think. I said this the other night, and I said then it was a horrible thing to think, but he may not survive the next 12 months. You know, like he may just naturally move on. I just hope the Democrats aren't putting themselves in a position where if something does happen to Biden, something for this health or whatever, like he may not, I'm not talking about him dying. Let's say he has a turn and it's obvious he can't go on. You know, they've given someone like Gavin Newsom enough time to actually be his replacement, because I was going to say maybe the only person worse than Joe Biden running would be Kamala fucking Harris, the way she doesn't score in the polls at the moment. But I don't know. Old mate says, old Mr. Frodo says, to accept a pardon, Trump would have to admit he broke the law and back down. He's not going to do that. I do hear you, and I sort of agree with you. But if you were to say to Trump, here's the deal, you'll get a full pardon, but you have to admit to the crime, and you have to never, ever publicly renounce that. You know, like you can't say a week later, I just said it so I didn't have to go to prison. I'm innocent. It's rigged. It's fixed. You know, you could write something that made him stick by it, or he'd do jail time. Yeah, I know it's crazy. Even when I say that out loud, I kind of go, it's a crazy thought. I don't know. Yeah, it's socialist says that Gavin Newsom is crazy. I know, but who are the other people? You know, someone other than Biden. Do we give them time? We've got how are you feeling, Chewie? I know you were in hospital yesterday. You keen for one or two more? You okay?
Yeah, go on.
We do one or two more?
I haven't dropped yet.
You haven't dropped yet. All right, JK wants to come have a chat with us. We don't get often a chance to talk to JK. We'll put you into the chat line there, JK, and say, "G'day, sir, coming in loud and clear. How are you?"
You're right.
Just on the Biden-Trump thing, Trump has to go to jail. I mean, assuming he gets proven guilty, which he is, he has to go to jail.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no, there will be no faith in the democratic system or the legal system of America if he does not. And there's a thing in the, I've forgotten what it is. It's not an amendment, but there's a thing which says that the Secret Service must protect him.
Yeah.
Right. And the same, well, how can you put the Secret Service in jail?
Well, the thing,
there is
but if Trump went to jail, it wouldn't be like cha-ching jail. It would be like country club.
Fed.
Yeah, club.
Yeah. And I mean, there is nothing more secure and protected than solitary confinement.
Look, I know it's kind
In
of
the
crazy,
hole.
and there's people in the chat saying won't happen, never happen. I'm like, I kind of know that, but I know we've talked about Occam's razor already. What is the logical conclusion here if he gets found guilty? I mean, because I agree, I can't imagine seeing him in jail, but he also can't just ignore a sentence. Then I come to maybe a pardon's the only logical conclusion.
And it's not a political decision. It is a justice system decision. And there are minimum jail sentences attached to his crimes.
Yeah.
So assuming he is found guilty, he is sentenced to jail. Now, whether Biden works out some deal from there is another story, but he would be sentenced to jail.
I wonder if Biden wouldn't be able to give him a pardon. Imagine what that would happen amongst the Democratic base if Biden gave him a because there's also a lot of the Democratic base who sort of want Trump because they think, like we've just seen elections in the last 7 days, that the Republicans have lost on abortion, and Trump has been going around, spreading the news out. I got rid of abortion. I did the Supreme Court. It's thanks to me. Abortion's thanks to me. And if you can tag that to him, maybe that pushback on abortion would flow to the national stage. Don't know.
The irony for Biden is he needs Trump to run. But the bad thing is, because Biden's doing nothing to fix the democracy of America, Trump could win.
Yeah, it kind of almost feels like, and thanks for your call, JK, we'll leave it there. Hey, Paula, if you're wanting to have a chat, you got to jump into the waiting room. I'm just not sure whether you're wanting to have a chat. If you are, jump into the waiting room and then we'll grab you in a sec and you can be our last one. It almost feels, Chewy, like anyone but Trump would easily beat Biden, and anyone but Biden would easily beat Trump. You know what I mean? So any other Democrat running would easily beat Trump, and any other Republican running would easily beat Biden. If it's Trump versus Biden, who knows? It's a toss-up, isn't it? And those two old men, think we're using the word toss and up with those two old men, it just feels wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a voter in the States, I'd be fucking furious at my options.
Yeah.
And it just, the amount of inertia built into the US system is just crazy. You've got the Senate and Congress and that sort of thing, and you've got to try and stack the deck somewhere to make any sort of progress in that. I'd be banging my head against the desk all the time.
All right, let's do one more. Paula's in the waiting room. Hello, Paula. Can you hear us?
Kia ora, I can.
Yeah, kia ora. What's up?
Well, I got here by accident is the first thing that's up.
Okay, good.
But then you said my name. I said, I better get in there. Mo ngā mihi kia kōrua. I hope you're well, Chewy.
Doing okay.
Good to know. Good to know. My husband and I only started listening maybe about 3 weeks ago, and we've been listening ever since. Our TV hasn't been on. It's been on. And we were talking about it, and we're convinced you boys and the team and the rest of the whānau deserve a 2024, so we're going to do whatever we can.
Oh, no.
Ngā mihi.
Thank you.
Sometimes we need to end the night with good news.
Yeah, well, that's, to get back onto that, for people who don't know what we're talking about, we put out there a bit of a plan for 2024, and it involved people watching and people listening on the audio podcast, kind of helping us out, and not even necessarily helping us out to kind of, let's have a Patreon, but like this, for this to continue as it is, it needs a significant cash injection, and we may need an investor to help us out who may be a business partner, but we also want to look for advertisers, and we want to talk to people about various things. And to be honest, the response has been lovely. I spoke, in fact, to an advertiser today for 30 minutes on the phone. We had a good old chinwag. I've got some other people who are talking about, their advertising budget is full up for this year, but from April of next year, they want to get involved. And we've kind of thrown it to the audience to go, you guys have always kind of had our backs. Like we said, we wanted to go number one in the charts, and within 24 hours, we were number one. So this is a one where we're now going, if you run a business and you want to do some advertising, if you know someone who runs a business and you want to do some advertising, but maybe most importantly, this is the tough one. If you know someone who who knows someone who might be the kind of person with the sort of capital you need to put into a startup. And we're talking about this like an internet startup. You know, internet startups get massive cash injection. They take 3 or 4 years to become profitable, and then they're off and running. And that's sort of what we're doing, Paula. That's what we're just throwing
I
out
love
there.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exciting for husband and I. You know, we're kind of been watching this madness that's going on here with our elections and all the rest of it, kind of giggling about it now. But it is what it is. I don't know. There's lots of things to talk about. It seems every night you've got an interesting topic. But I guess we'll go straight to what I feel like talking about. MFAT and the rest of them, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I did. I was just horrified when I heard it this morning. So, I'm certain that's a treaty breach. I'm completely certain it's an Article 2 issue. And I know in my circles, I work at Te Wānanga Orokawa, so I'm teaching people this stuff all the time. So I can hear in my circles, there's already the kickback. And I'm excited. Here's actually what I'm excited about. We can be angry about all of these, but over the election, what I saw was our rangatahi get up and make noises that I didn't make when I was 16.
Yep. And I think you've seen that in the results of the Māori Party. I think you've seen it literally there.
Absolutely. I've got a 16-year-old grandson who did a month's worth of flag waving with all his cousins, with all his aunties and the whole community. And then I had a 16-year-old having a bit of a swear at me because he realised the day before election he's not allowed to vote.
He's ready for the next one. We've got him primed for the next one.
That's right. And so the 10-year-old is wanting to follow the 16-year-old. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. So with all of the heartbreak that's going on, there's hope. Our next generation, I guess this is what I want to say, our next generation are going to do so much better than us because they're much more fearless. They seem to be more left than anything else.
This is
I'm
why
excited.
they don't want them to vote.
That's right.
That's why
I
they don't want
know.
to drop the age down. It's older people judging the younger people on how they were when they were that age. And it's just such bullshit.
It is bullshit. I'm woeful about what I was like when I was 16 when I saw him. You know, the biggest thing in my mind is how much I was going to get a train to get to Wellington from Nainai without mum and dad knowing because I was going to the Royal Tavern. That's what we worried about in the 80s. Jesus. But these kids, just amazing. I've been to a few marches over, oh God, my legs have been doing the work. The Palestinian freedom, amazing. Just amazing, but it's not enough. I think there was 4,000 at the Wellington one, which was exciting. And I think it just needs to be more. My sister-in-law was with me and she's really frightened about the thought of World War III. And so we had this interesting conversation. But in her mind, she was thinking nuclear bombs all over the world and all that, which is a possibility, of course. But then it occurred, we got to this conversation that, 1 million people on London Bridge, all over the world, New York Central Station, everywhere. There's this mass of global citizens saying no. I think that's the World War III. I think we're in it and it's actually got global citizens. That's naive, I know.
Wow. Interesting thought, though.
Yeah, and I just think New Zealand needs to make a bigger noise, and I think we can. I think we will.
So what I hear you saying is the soldiers in World War III are carrying flags, not guns, this time around.
That's right. And we're vocal. And again, this next generation are going to do it better than we have. I'm excited about that.
Excellent.
So
and what a nice uplifting conversation to finish our week on, Paula. Thanks for jumping on tonight.
I think so. I know how hard you guys work, so I didn't want to poo-poo you.
It's okay, though, because poo-poo jokes are always funny. We always laugh at poo-poo jokes, don't we, Chewy? So if it was a poo-poo anything, then that'd be fine. Yeah, interesting. That's a really interesting point. I'm liking that. I'm also liking this comment from Polyphemus. I love the talkback radio vibes off the Discord calls. Yeah, I know. News Talk ZB, we could do a Sunday night show for you. Be easy, wouldn't it, Chewy? We could do that. Okay, team, we're done. We're done for tonight. This has been a really good show. Lovely to have you back there, Chewy. I'm just disconnected from Discord because sometimes when me and Chewy talk afterwards, I realize, oh shit, I'm still on Discord. So I've just hit disconnect there. So I'm fine. Before we go, one thing I want to mention, I haven't mentioned it tonight, I don't think, but I will mention it again. Actually, there's two things. The first thing is, if you haven't done it yet, we would really appreciate you voting for us in the New Zealand Podcast Awards. I have put the link in the chat. I could put it in again if I copied it. Let me put it in again.
When does voting end on this?
They announced them on the 30th. So I would think voting ends mid-20s. I don't know if it says exactly when. So as you know, whānau, what we're doing with 2024, this kind of recognition, although for many people awards don't mean very much, and the truth is, they do or they don't, but for recognition from within the community, that would actually be something that would help us for next year. So we're just saying, if you want to be involved, if you want to help out, it's real easy to jump on nzpodcastawards.com/nominate and nominate us. You can either nominate us as BHN or Big Hairy News, and they do ask for a show link, and we ask you guys to put the show link in that is one of the audio podcasts. So that is it. The second thing, Chewy, is just a reminder as to what we're doing for 2024. As we've just said there in the conversation to Paula, we're looking to have you guys involved with helping us spread our wings. And if you want to be involved or you want to know more information about it, then you can just use the email that's going along the bottom of the screen at the moment, bighairynews@gmail.com. I've had probably 20 or 30 people so they want to come in. What I've done is I've written up a bit of a letter, and the letter I've written explains in more detail to you what we're trying to do and how you could help. And over this weekend, I'm going to do another document, and that's going to be more something that you can hand to business people that you know for advertising, or that if you are a business, like I've had some people messaging me saying, now let us know more about the advertising concepts, and I'll be doing that over this weekend. So right now we have a document to explain to you, lovely whānau, who we are, what we're about, what we're trying to do. And over the weekend, I'll draw up the next document, which is going to be about exactly how we will advertise a product. And then, of course, the big thing is if you know someone who knows someone who knows someone that knows James Cameron, I put that name in there for fun, but whoever, that might want to be someone to help this little startup stick around next year with investment, then we'd love for you to connect us. bighairynews@gmail.com. And Chewy, good to have you back. Feeling a little bit crunchy. Everything else good? I've been talking a lot. Is there anything you want to wrap up with?
No, just actually one thing. If for whatever reason you choose to drink energy drinks almost daily for 10 years, maybe don't.
Is this a message about kidney stones?
Kidney stones. Everybody knows that they're bad, but the word stone makes it sound rounded. It is not. Just Google an image. It's like trying to piss out a Christmas ornament. Don't do it.
Ooh, do you not bring photos to share with the family?
No, no. You can Google them. Okay. It's not like I asked them to bag it up and give it to me. They the laser, but it's not fun. It's not fun.
It is quite funny because when I was in hospital, whatever it was, 3 months ago, they did my gallbladder. Obviously, they just took the whole thing out, which was full of stones, and that was about sugar as well. But the kidney, obviously, they don't really want to rip out, so they just explode it and make you pass it. Whereas I don't have a gallbladder anymore; it's just gone. So I have to be careful. But yeah. All right, dude. Well, it's nice to have you back. Did you give your Evie a kiss when you walked in the door?
I love it. But one thing I noticed, my partner picked me up from the hospital afterwards, obviously, and I hadn't heard the noise that it makes when it's traveling really slowly.
Like from the outside, do you mean? Like coming to pick? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it makes because it's so quiet, right? So it makes a little noise, so pedestrians know it's there. And it makes this kind of like cool spaceship hovery noise.
I want my car,
which I didn't know about it.
I'm going to look it up on YouTube. I want my car. Do you know the Jetsons? Meet George Jetson.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I want it to sound like that. How do you spell Jetsons? Jet SUNS. Is that how you spell it? Jetsons.
Jetsons.
Oh, here we go. The Jetsons car. I don't know what this is. We'll just push it. There you go. That's what I want my EV to sound like when I eventually get one in 10 years from now. All right, team. You're beautiful. You know you are. And we will be back Monday night for another edition. If anything happens through the weekend and we end up having a government form, then you might see me jumping on a live stream. But other than that, so that's probably a good time to tell you to subscribe to the YouTube channel and to also ring the notification bell, to hit that notification bell. If I do happen to jump up at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, you'll be notified that we're coming. And other than that, I think we're done. It's been lovely. Good show, guys. And I do love that talkback feel, like people are saying. And thanks for all you people who joined in. That was great fun. All right, guys, we'll catch you Monday from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News. Remember, vote for us on the podcasts. If you want to get involved with 2024, Project 2024, then contact us at BHN anytime, bighairynews@gmail.com. And other than that, you're all beautiful. Have a great weekend. Expect to see you all back here on Monday night. In fact, if you want, bring a friend. Until then, I will say, hooroo.
Cheers, fam.